Hello, everyone. It's Jazz. I got Frankie with me, and yeah, we're going to be discussing a topic that's kind of getting quite viral. Really, it's kind of biggest topic I think fans are talking about, especially since Wednesday's defeat to Man United. And I watched the game. I think Frankie was at the game, and for me, we started off really, really well, and you could see that up to 65, 60 minutes, even half time, we were winning 1-0. And what was needed was two things by two people. Antonio, obviously, I felt needed to come off. It just wasn't happening for him. Again, I just got fed up, like Frankie, just saying the same things over and over again, which means Antonio, for a short term, can stay if he plays on the wing or if he comes on as a substitute impact, which he kind of scored that goal against Forest after a long time. So I think as a substitute impact sub, or to replace Bowen on the right side on the wing, or perhaps he can play in the left. I haven't seen him on that side too often. That'll be good. And what David Moyes needed to recognise was that even Man United said this is a chance to kind of win this game. And I kept remembering Frankie's saying we're going to win this, and I thought, hang on a minute, out of the blue, we're doing all right, but we know what needed. That second goal should have come, and perhaps would have come if we had someone else up front. And he just would not make any subs. And Frankie, going to bring you in now. And I remember United made 3 changes, mate. 3 substitute changes. And we didn't do anything till very, very late on. And I thought that was going to be the case anyway with David Moyes. And all we needed was a quick 2-3 players, change it a bit. And we could have, by hook or crook, held on. Certainly going to extra time, perhaps on level terms. And then it's all luck and penalties after that, perhaps, really. But what's been happening on Twitter, certainly in my channel, some of the comments, the first thing is we're honest, and I love people with different points of view. I love all of that interaction. That's the way it should be. And this channel is we never sit on the fence. Some of the other channels drives me nuts. You watch it and you think, actually, the channel hasn't said anything. It's like going to politics, mate. Going to politics, wishy-washy. We have always said we want David Moyes out, we want Antonio out, nothing personal. And it's surprising to see, Frankie's, that we want West Ham to be ambitious, we want to win something. And some fans, we keep losing. And even David Moyes comments, oh, I can see that we've lost a lot of games, but it's been narrow defeats. It's been very narrow, very close. I don't care. We've lost. And some fans... And that Antonio display is probably the worst as a striker I've ever seen. I can't remember any ball sticking to him. I can't see anything else he offered. He didn't press. He just walked around. My dad was going nuts saying, run, mate, do something, press, do something. And that chance very early on was he had 2 days to make up his mind, settle himself. He just carried on running till he got very close to the goalkeeper. And their goalkeeper's got the biggest frame and hands, and he got down to it. And second half again, I think Banrama was there waiting to sort of slip it to him and put it in the net. Antonio just kept running and just hit it straight at the goalkeeper, mate. So, and all I'm saying, some fans are kind of happy saying we played well, which is kind of true. But I don't want to keep celebrating defeats. I don't want to keep saying I want to get upset and I want to cut down and I want to explain why we've lost. And for me, Frankie, going back is quite disappointing. And for me, Moyes and Antonio are the ones. I know Agar did something, but I'll come to that a bit later on. But for me, mate, you were at the game. What were your views on the game? And now you've had a couple of days to digest everything, mate. And first of all, hope you're well, mate, as well.
Yeah, no, all good, mate. It was a long journey up and a long journey back. It was even longer on the way back. There was motorways down to one lane, and it was 7 hours it took me to get back from up there, mate. So I don't know. I didn't come away feeling too dejected. It was really interesting, actually, seeing the reaction on Twitter versus the reaction from the people who were there. And I've always said this, it's very different from people who have sat indoors watching it, from people who have gone to the game and made that effort and made that journey and made that hard slog. You are more emotionally invested. I don't think anyone is more of a fan than anyone else, whether you sit there or whether you go. I'm not saying they're more of a supporter. What I'm saying is they're more emotionally invested. When you have that really, really long slog and you come out, and the general feel, I was actually the happier of everyone that I was speaking to. Everyone on the way back to the coaches were like, missed opportunity, not good enough, awful, terrible, just thrown it away. David Moyes terrible, Antonio terrible. People were really upset, mate, and really pissed off that the opportunity that was there, we blew it, mate. We bottled it, we blew it. These were the comments that people were saying. You know, and Antonio plays a massive part in that. I don't think when he ran through, we all looked at each other as he was running through. I don't think anyone felt he was going to put it in the back of the net.
That's true.
My mate, as soon as he done it, looked at me and said, "Why is he so?" And you can imagine the word that he said. Yeah, I think everyone just gets more and more frustrated with the Antonio situation, mate. And I know there's, you know, a guy in the chat here who says he feels sorry for him. I don't feel sorry for him, right? Because he is, for whatever reason, developed this very arrogant, very awful attitude over the last however long. And you saw it at the end of the Frankfurt game when their fans were sort of giving it. All he had to say was, "My money's good, though. My money's good, though." That's Antonio's attitude. Not how good you are on a football pitch, not committed to the calls, not trying to improve on those areas where his weakness is. He got to the stage where he was earning big money, big contracts, and now you saw his attitude towards that at the end of that Frankfurt game. "My money's good, though. My money's good." That's what's important to him, mate, is money. You see him at these Moncler, you know, events and all that, and he's coming out all dressed up like a snowman and whatever else. Mate, the geezer, he ain't dedicated to football anymore. He's at the end of his career. He's made his money. He's got no dedication to West Ham. And, mate, he's never, ever, ever been a striker. And there was a lot of people talking about Antonio, actually, and the fact that his hamstrings were going and what the coaching staff and physio team did to try and help his hamstrings and how they tried to build up that area and how much pace he's lost because of that and the sharpness he's lost because that acceleration that he had. But he still got played in. It was a great ball to put him through for his one-on-one, his first of the one-on-ones. But when he gets through, mate, he made that whole situation harder by taking that awful touch that took him further right than he would have liked to have been. Took far too long to pull the trigger. Indecisive. Like we've always said,
Yeah.
if the ball comes at him and he reacts, he's fine. As soon as he's got to think about anything, he just hasn't got the brain of a striker, mate. He is just... Oh. And then the second one when he's running through, I'll tell you what, and everyone said, oh, it was a great save. Antonio hit it straight at him. If you want to see an example of how if you get a narrow angle, you want to see an example of what you're supposed to do, go and watch Saka's goal from their last win against Everton. Saka blasted that near post high and hard, and it went straight up into the roof of the net. That's how you take that shot on. You either have to go across the keeper, you have to go early, you have to go over the keeper, or if you get to that narrow angle and you get that tight space, top corners where you got to go. And Saka buried his chance, mate. Antonio completely messed his up. And you've got to put a lot of blame now. And after he made that run, that big run that he made, and I remember standing there, and the next phase of game, Antonio's in our box. Declan Rice was up where Antonio should have been, right up the top of the pitch. And Rice is turning around going, where is he? What's going on? And Rice had to go into the attacking position because Antonio was so blowing that he didn't have the energy to get back. He had made one run, and it absolutely took all energy from him. And I don't think after that point he ever looked really like he had energy again. And I think one of the big reasons why we really started blowing hard and not having any energy is when Man United started to get on top of us in that second half, we had no outlet. Every time the ball went up the pitch, it came straight back at us. And we had no respite, no outlet, and we was crying out for someone to just hold the ball up at the top of the pitch and give us a bit of breathing space. And I feel Scamacca will have done that. I know people are going to say about his injury, is it worth the risk? Mate, but at the end of the day, if he's fit enough to be on the bench, he's fit enough to come on that football pitch and play for half an hour. We made that change far. And in fact, what he did and this is the point of the situation why Moyes has to take the brunt of the blame. Antonio does too. This is why Moyes has got to take the brunt of the blame. By Fornals done an absolute job. It was the best I've seen Fornals play in, I can't even tell you how long. He was doubling up on Garnacho and really helping Ben Johnson with handle that situation. And as soon as Moyes took Fornals off, Garnacho had so much more space, wasn't doubling up on him, Bowen wasn't tracking him, and that made a big difference. It let them have more of what they wanted to do down that side of the pitch, down the left-hand side. And Moyes is to blame for that, mate. Not giving us an outlet by replacing Antonio, even though he was so tired, and then also taking Fornals off, who was so pivotal to helping stop Garnacho having, doing damage from that left-hand side. So two things I've got really there, mate, that really point the finger at Moyes and say your tactical substitutions were just not good enough. Ten Hag's were, and in the end, ultimately, the reason why we lost that game is because they had a better manager than us, mate, and that's it. But first half was a lot better. I will say it was a lot better. It was the best I've seen us play a half of football in a long time.
Yeah, I mean, if you go in half-time 1-0 up, and you can see that Antonio's not quite at it, then try to make, change it, put someone next to him. And certainly in the Forest game, Frankie, I saw Souček, like you said, more advanced than some of our strikers. So he's certainly, good thing Moyes, he's more, Souček is much more visible on the eye. And we've realised, like I think you felt, that he's not a typical CDM Souček. He's better off just sticking around up front, making a nuisance of himself, good in the air, that kind of thing. And I think the goal will come for him very, very soon. The other thing I didn't realise, again, to be fair, in the argument with Antonio is I didn't realise that the last 3 seasons he has got 10 league goals in every season. And last season, I could not remember. I was shocked when I realised he's got 10 Premier League goals. Yeah. So
second half, I don't think he scored a goal. I mean, I scored one, didn't he? I say he barely scored, but the first half of the season, he did put them away.
Yeah, and then overall, mate, he's it's 68 goals in 260 games, 42 assists, 33 yellow cards, a couple of red cards in there. And again, it does hurt me when I go at players like that because, if you look overall, how much he cost and different positions he's played in, it's been, listen, he's been okay, more than okay for us. Just the last couple of years, David Moyes, and it's just amateurs like us at the ground watching at home, realising that you got to change it up a bit, perhaps bring Bowen on, push Souček a bit further up next to him. And maybe even want some of the youngsters. Did you want any of the youngsters to kind of have a chance in this game? You felt certainly on the bench or coming on?
Not in this game, mate, because I just felt that, and it actually came to light, mate, that they had this big emotional day of winning the first trophy in 6 years. They did field a weakened side, mate. They were there. That first half, we should have finished them off. That first half, that should have been game over. The chances we had, and this is what was a bit frustrating. Everyone at half time was saying, "Oh, that was a good half." We played well. I accept that, and it was a good half in terms of how we played. But the fact that we didn't get that goal come back to haunt us a bit, mate. If we'd have got that goal in the first half, come out the second half, got the second, I don't think there'd have been any way back for them. We left it too much in the balance. We left it, just 1-0. And we've had managers in the past that 1-0 was enough. I've been to Old Trafford twice before this one. I've won twice there. Di Canio season, we defended for the whole game after we scored. One when Defoe scored the header at the back post. Again, very defensive. If you've got a manager who can do it and defend and see out a game like that, then it's fine. Unfortunately, Moyes, he hasn't got it. Every time he tries to defend something like that, we concede. And once we conceded, mate, the energy levels had gone. They started to open up the space and they brought on their big players and it was too much for us. I really thought the whole game management from Moyes, and this ain't me digging out Moyes, first half was so much better. A lot more attacking than I thought we was going to be. The football was better than I thought it was going to be. Intent was better than I thought it was going to be. All round that first half, I have no issues with what David Moyes did there. And everyone who has this sort of, is it Moyes or the players kind of argument, first half, Moyes got everything right and the players were at fault, mainly Antonio, for not getting that goal. Second half, Moyes got it totally wrong and Moyes is to blame in the second half, not the players. yeah, it was all round, mate. In the end, it really did feel like it had slipped through your fingers. Do you know what I mean? And when you see what teams left in there, I know City are still in there, but other than that, mate, you look at, and everyone was looking at the draw and thinking, again, this is an opportunity to go far and get to a final. And I just think Man United definitely were there for the taking, mate. I feel like we should have done better. I really do.
Yes, we could have easily been 2-0 up going into half time. But it's just that David Moyes, like you said, he's not a winner. And I don't know why he can't see what was he waiting for till 80, 75, 80th minute before making a change. And they made three, and then they made another one, and you knew. And this is always the fine line between winning things and losing. And I hate fans saying that. Yeah, we played well. It was very, very close, but it was obvious, certainly from my end, that you need to do something. You need to change Antonio. He could be playing 90 minutes. He's not going to score. But before I carry on with Antonio, mate, very good goal from Ben Rama, wasn't it? And I thought the ball had gone out, Frankie. I thought the ball had gone out.
I didn't celebrate. I stood there.
Yeah.
Everyone was celebrating. But this is how the game's also gone, mate, because it looked so out to me. And I remember thinking, as it happened, I saw the ball go out, and I thought, we're going to score from this because VAR are going to rule it out. And then Ben Rama hits it, and it goes in the net. And I went like, and everyone was next to me grabbing on me, going, yeah, I went, it's out. I said, this is going to be disallowed. I said, I'm not even sure. Obviously, when VAR gave the goal, I went absolutely mental. But I didn't celebrate because I saw clear as day the ball going out, mate. The ball was out. It was.
And obviously their first equaliser was very closely offside, and it was close. And what I hate about watching games live now, Frank, is that more often than not, the commentators, especially their ex-Liverpool players, if there's Liverpool playing, they're ex-Man United, and then Phil Neville, what they're doing is, and I reckon it happens, because when VAR are looking, I reckon one of them is listening to Sky, definitely. And then what Phil Neville is saying, when it shouldn't be a goal, Neville's like, oh, I think it's good. I think it's just in. I think it looks okay. I'm like, you should not be having, biased commentary from one of the clubs that are playing. I think it's just very, very annoying. For you, again, that first equaliser ruled out for VAR, did you think it was going to be a goal or not?
Well, funnily enough, I was just messaging someone as that happened. I don't go on my phone during games, but at that point in time, for whatever reason, I'd messaged someone. I'll tell you what I'd done. I'd messaged someone saying, we've left this too late, i.e. we needed to change Scamacca for Antonio to give ourselves the outlet. And the person replied to me and said, he's so offside. He's well offside. So I turned around to everyone around me. I went, he told me it's miles offside. And then I thought I shouldn't have said that because everyone's going to have a go at me if the goal stands. But luckily, and they was like, yeah, your information was right. And I was like the man who had told him it was all off. So, yeah, I mean, at the time, because we're down the other end of the pitch, you think they've scored. You had no feelings that there might have been an offside in there. You just thought that was coming. We left our changes too late. And then we get that warning sign, and it sort of does wake Moyes up. But I think it was the wrong sub. I think he made totally the wrong change. I think Fornals was fine. I think it didn't look like pace was causing him any issues. I don't think anything was really happening down that side. I can't actually see what Moyes' thinking was with making that sub. I don't get it. But what I could have understood is Antonio, who looks so tired, blowing, looking like his legs have gone and offering nothing, no outlet, no hold-up play, no nothing. Changing him for Scamacca made all the sense in the world. I just don't understand the substitution he made at that time, mate. I really don't.
Especially because Fornals hasn't played for a while, so there's no issue of him being tired. And again, why did Fornals look good, Frankie? Because that's how you use your squad. When the players are not at it, you pull them out, take them out for a few weeks, they come back a different player, So I can see that as an amateur. It's a squad game. But to Moyes, just keep playing players that are struggling on the pitch in front of our eyes, or league to league, game to game forms. It's so many things Moyes does wrong, really. And before I forget to say that, mate, am I right in what I heard? There was 8,000 of you West Ham fans there at them.
A little bit less than that, I think, mate.
A little bit less.
Probably more like 6 to 7. But still a great crowd up there, mate. And we made plenty of noise. Got behind them. So yeah, it was.
You made so much noise that that's going to be really good for you to hear is that when that VAR Man United goal was chalked off, the cheer was so loud. I thought it was a goal. I thought it's the home fans because I didn't see the proper. And all I heard is a huge roar. And I thought, looks like it's a goal, but it wasn't. It was you guys making all that noise up there, mate. Jesus, I think you made more noise than when we scored. I don't know.
I think we did because again, I think, like I said, I didn't celebrate when we scored because I thought the ball was out, and I could see. I thought, oh no, this is going to be overruled, and I was sitting in the corner right behind where Ben Rama had that shot, and you just saw it go straight into the top corner, and all you want to do is go mad. But I was like, and all the people around me, I was going, that's going to be ruled out. That ball was out. Well, they were going, and I was like, no, this ain't going to stand. And so you haven't even had that moment, but then everyone obviously has it when VAR do give the goal. But it's, that moment isn't quite the same as seeing a ball at the back of the net. Do you know what I mean? I know you still have that big ultimate cheer and that elation that the goal stands, but VAR has taken something out of the game by having that doubt in your mind.
Definitely, mate.
It's annoying.
Because before that, mate, 95% it was a goal before VAR, and you could go mad and run around and all that kind of thing. But it is kind of what it is. Antonia's going to be 33 this month, mate. Later on, in what we're in March. I just see football simply, mate. Left or right, black or white. I think it's time to move him on, mate. And he's on a high salary. If we can get 5 to 10 million for him, it's simple, isn't it, Frankie? Just move him on, say thank you again, isn't it? Same. I don't know.
I mean, we never can because we've never bought in a replacement for him, have we? So we've never been able to move him on. But there was that sort of spell. Again, we're no good at selling players when the right time is to sell players. Do you know what I mean? Some clubs are really good at it. Arsenal have been quite good at it in the past, like when they sold Henry. A lot of people look at that and go, why are you selling Thierry Henry? But what did he do really after Arsenal sold him? He didn't. I think he did win a Champions League with Barcelona, so he did win something. But what I'm saying is he was never the same. He was never at his peak after that. He was on his decline, and Arsenal thought, we'll cash in now while we can still get a good amount of money for him. There was that period previously when Antonio was having his little purple patch, and if big money was coming in for him, then that was the right moment to sell. We never seem to be good at doing that. But even now, if we really got what we need around us to sell Antonio, so say the window opened tomorrow, and you could sell Antonio, and someone come in with that £5 to £10 million offer, would you take it? I don't think I would, because Skamaka, I'm not sure how much he wants to be here because all the stuff that's going on and all the weird stuff that's happening with his agent and all that sort of stuff. Can't really work out. So if Skamaka don't want to be there, then the only other play you've got is Danny Ings. And Danny Ings has already had a little knock, and albeit a knock rather than a muscular injury and everything else. But do you really want just Danny Ings? Probably not. So, even if that money came in now and a team wanted him, I don't think you can sell him because we just haven't got anyone else.
Yeah. Obviously, if we were a normal functioning club with good scouting system, managers and owners on the same wavelength, then you get two strikers in, two big, two little ones. Little one we already got in Ingsy. Skamaka, I think you've seen it, I've seen it. There is a player in there. If we get a new manager in there and get something out of him, and we should definitely not. I mean, it'd be crazy to sell Skamaka when you haven't really seen anything or given him a chance or any of that really. But I think if you're looking to reduce the age of the squad, 33, we need to get rid of players like that. The other thing, top of my head, mate, is before I forget, James, hope you're well, mate. And I gave your boy the man of the match, Ben Rama. I thought, fair enough, this is the kind of game where we're playing a big and he you're more than visible, trying to make things happen. And Frankie, him and Paqueta looking a little bit better each game, would you say?
Paqueta, mate, by far the best game for me. And again, this is what I'm saying. It's really interesting to see the opinion of people who wasn't there versus people who are there. From what I was watching, I thought Paqueta had a fantastic game. I thought he looked the best I'd seen him look. I felt like he was controlling play in the midfield. I felt like he was moving the ball quickly, which was great. I felt like his passing was really good. Just all round, I thought Paqueta had a really good game. I thought Souček had a really good game. I thought Ogbonna had a really good game. And some of the other people on Twitter afterwards, didn't have these same opinions. They were like, Paqueta was rubbish, weren't impressed. Souček was terrible. I know it's differences of opinions, but from what I was watching, mate, I thought Paqueta did really well. I thought Benrahma did well. I thought he had a good game. Obviously, he got the goal, which was really important. I felt like it was a little bit typical of same old Benrahma stuff now and then, like not having that final killer ball. He got out muscled one time, which was just, the ball was up to him, and I thought use a bit more aggression there, and he got easily pushed off the ball. But at the end of the day, it's he is still our brightest spark on the pitch in terms of creativity at the moment, mate. He still is the man who tries to make things happen, and that's important.
I think a little bit of that might be that obviously him being one of our creative players. When you look up, there's no striker making a run, making himself available.
Doesn't help.
And what's making it worse, Frankie, is we're seeing a proper striker in Danny Ings. One of the goals he scored, he gambled, didn't he? Went into that position. Yeah. What Antonio does, mate, he stands behind the defender, having a cup of tea with him. You're not going to find him. It doesn't make no
coincidence. It's no coincidence that one of the best games that Bowen's had in a while, which was the Nottingham Forest game, was because Danny Ings was up top and not Antonio. Bowen looks better when Danny Ings is there because he's got someone to find. He's got someone who's actually there in the box. That's why Bowen made a cross and Danny Ings tucks it in, mate. That's what you need. And I honestly, you will see a different Bowen if you've got Ings starting on that football pitch than when Antonio plays.
Epic, hope you're doing well, mate. Yes, there were rumours of a 10 million offer from Wolves. I can't remember, Frankie, was it a firm offer? Although we don't know a lot of these things, do we?
The thing is, mate, you'd never have sold him to them when they was looking like they was in and around the relegation zone with us. You wouldn't have given him, you wouldn't have sold him to them, would you? That would have been...
Do you agree with how we sold Dawson to one of our relegation rivals?
Sorry, say that again, mate.
Do you agree? Are you happy with the fact that Dawson was sold to one of our relegation rivals?
Dawson was a different kettle, mate. Dawson wanted to move to that part of the country. There's only so many teams he would have gone to in that part of the country, and I don't really feel like we had a lot of choice. I felt like we'd already blocked that move a couple of times, and I think in the end, with whatever's going on in Dawson's personal life, I feel like we had no choice. I think Antonio's a bit different. We did have a choice in Antonio, and I think I wouldn't have been that worried, mate, because I actually think it might have been a bit of a genius move selling to him, and that might have helped him suffer more than us, and he might have ended up taking them down if they was relying on him to keep you up. But there's always that chance that he goes there, finds a bit of form, becomes the main man, gets a bit of enthusiasm for football again, and would have gone on that run, and that could have been the difference between us staying up and going down. So you couldn't have risked it, mate, I don't think.
Yeah, Bees Knees, you're right. We do have a history of not getting much for our players, mate. It's just one of those things. I don't know why it happens, but on that kind of subject to Bees Knees, you reminded me of another thing again, Frankie, is that Torino are still very, very keen to take Vlasic for 15 million euros, mate, end of the season. But Italy being Italy and the way they buy things, and they're after a bit of a discount, mate, to make it happen because they're skint. But
yeah, they won't pay 15 million for him. They'll pay less than that. They know we're just going to need him gone. You watch, that'll be less than 10 million. Same sort of scenario with Anderson, mate. We can't keep doing it. We can't keep bringing these players in on these, big fees, and then, a season later selling them to these clubs at a fraction of the price. That no wonder our sort of net spend is so high when we never see anything return on any of the players, mate. The net spend is as high as it is because of the incompetency of our board, not because the board are putting up more and more money and throwing money at West Ham.
Yeah.
That's not the reason. On paper, to anyone who doesn't actually know the situation, just wouldn't see it. They would think, aren't they ploughing money into West Ham? No, they're just absolutely useless at getting any fees for players. They just always do their brains. They just buy a player for a fortune and sell them for nothing. It's mad.
Yeah, James, the thing with Paqueta, mate, again, it's David Moyes' press conferences. Some of the stuff he's coming out with is comedy, mate, and he's like, yeah, I watch him, and then I'm learning a few things about him, and bloody hell, mate! If that's your record signing, I thought you would have known more than that about him. And again, Frankie, some of the comments, mate, come on, he's your record signing. You must know a little bit about him. It's
Yeah,
mad, isn't
yeah.
it?
It is a weird way to talk, mate. And but he says, mate, at every press conference, he says 5 or 6 absolutely ridiculous comments that you just think, what are you going on about? There was one in there. I'm trying to think back to what it was now, mate, and I couldn't believe what I was listening to. It was
One
some,
of them's about that he's happy that we don't win anything. It's West Ham. We're fine. We're not meant to be in
yeah,
the top
no, but it
six.
was the
All
Man
that.
United one. It was the Man United press conference. He come out and said something and totally contradicting himself in the very, very next sentence that he said. And I just thought, mate, what are you talking about? You're just an idiot.
I know, and it's like even in the press conference after the United game, the report was like, mate, they're asking Moyes, yeah, why are you playing Antonio up front, and what do you think about the two misses? He wouldn't answer the questions. Instead, he had to go at Agard. Agard, that's another point, Frankie. I mean, yeah, it's a very very poor own goal, mate, and
Mate, don't think, right, and this is what worries me a little bit. Don't think for 1 second that that only started to happen in that game. Agard has been having problems for 2 or 3 games now. He's been making mistakes. He's been giving the ball away. He has looked very, very, very shaky for the last 3 matches. Not just the Man United one. See all that? That was creeping in, mate. That had started to creep in already, and I'm concerned because what looked like a really, class player who just had everything and just, passing and distribution was fantastic. The amount of times he's giving the ball away at the moment or trying to play ridiculous passes that ain't even on and nearly getting us bang into trouble. Really, really not good, mate. I just hope this isn't a case of Moyesitis of when we sign a player, they're amazing and Moyes quickly turns them into someone who's useless. So, yeah, I really hope
is that
he gets back to his form again.
is that an issue because you're playing two left footers together, and then is he playing on the right now?
Possibly. I know, mate. We're all looking for an excuse just to hope that there is a reason for it, and it's not anything more than that. So, let's hope that he settles down again and get back to form. What I will say, mate, I thought Ogbonna had a really composed game. What I loved about Ogbonna in that game, especially in the first half, he always wanted the ball. He wanted to be the man who started playing out from the back, and every single time the ball went to anywhere in our defence, he was making himself available, saying, give me the ball, pass it to me, I'm going to get the play going. Really like that confidence. I thought Ogbonna was really good, but we all know his limitations with pace, and we know his limitations with, he turns like an absolute truck now. Maybe a guard is I don't know, maybe he's compensating for a bit of those weaknesses that Ogbonna has. And maybe he can't think of his own game enough because in the back of his mind, he's always thinking, I've got to make sure I'm covering him. And if that's the case, then, that could be throwing him off a little bit.
Yeah, I know what you mean, mate. But like I said, going back to Antonio again, we do have a go, but I am being fair in saying his record is half decent for us, and I do see a short-term thing where I'm happy where he is a substitute, mate, and he's a good sub, isn't he, Frankie? 17 minutes, he doesn't have to blow. Antonio's a sub. He scored on Forest. I mean, if we're going to keep him, which we have to keep him at least till the summer, I would only use him as a sub or perhaps on the wing. Yeah, that's the only thing I can use that, and we should really. I think the reasons for keeping Antonio, like I said, if we can't go out and buy a replacement, that's kind of pretty poor in terms of the owners, isn't it? If that's the way they're going to play it, they struggle and they say every window we can't buy players and things like that. The other thing is obviously we've got Brighton coming up, and again, I don't really follow other clubs that much, mate. But what I'm hearing is all these other clubs are looking at this Brighton manager, mate, to say like, God, he's good. I don't know. Have you seen anything from him to say that? I don't know. It's a bit weird, isn't it?
We're going to see a lot this weekend, mate, aren't we? So I can't say I've watched enough of them to comment, really. But for me, it ain't. You got to look beyond the manager again. For me, for me, it's not about what managers they are. It's the fact that any time Brighton have a massive change, they just carry on as they were. And it's incredible that they can sell these players for big profits, good players, and it don't really affect their team very much. They can get rid of managers and it don't really affect their team very much. It just shows how much planning and how much structure is there in the background to ensure that no matter what goes on, the football club carries on in the right direction. I just think Brighton, in terms of how a football club should be run, mate, just seem to be doing everything right. And, they're obviously bringing in managers who, where they have players that they know, if we sell this player, we know the next 6 players who we'd bring in and we can go and target them and get in the right man. They've obviously bringing in similar managers who know how the team play, who play in that similar style, and just pick up where the last manager left off, mate. I've never seen a team cope with exits as well as they are at the moment. It's brilliant, mate.
Yeah, Brentford are one of them, aren't they? They've got a reasonably good scouting system, and their manager again is well thought of, well spoken of, mate. Snazzy, as he mentions Kera, mate. Oh god, I might get into trouble again. Even though I think he had a half decent game, didn't he? A couple of games ago, and he's out the picture again. What do you think about Kera then, mate?
Kera is what Kera is, mate, isn't he? Do you know what I mean? What I would like to see, if I'm honest, I'd like to see Kera used. If he does play for us, I'd like to see him be used in the way he's used for Germany. We've not seen him play that way for us yet. Similarly to how Emerson is improving because he's playing in the right positions, you might see the same from Kera. I know a lot of people think he's a centre half. I just don't think he is a centre half, mate. I don't think that suits he's the way he plays at all. I know he might have played there for previous teams and so on, but I was impressed with him watching Germany. When he's played international games for Germany, I sit there and think, you make things happen up and down the line. Your final ball needs a little bit more work on, but I do think you cause problems. I think you get the playing really well. He plays inside and down the line. I just feel like he plays that role really well. But I don't know, mate. He isn't. I mean, a lot of people had this opinion that when he first started playing for us, he was the best of all of our recent signings, and he was this fantastic player. I think he's well off the mark of that.
Yeah, and James, I think also with Agard, I think I want to see him with Zuma. A bit more than it hasn't happened due to injuries, but then we'll kind of see how it goes. But yeah, I think he'll look better next to Zuma, I feel. Again, the other thing, mate, Fabianski, nasty eye injury, mate, going to be out for a couple of months or a bit more than that. And Areola looked a bit shaky, mate, in Man United in some instances. Yeah.
I don't know. What I loved about Areola, mate, is that there were times where he gets the ball, the defenders have split out wide, and he could ping a pass over the Man United winger and land it at our players' feet. He helped us see that way we played in that first half, moving the ball more quickly, passing the ball better, getting forward and getting beyond their sort of defensive lines. The reason that happened is because it started from the back. Areola, the amount of times he pinged a perfect pass, and I thought, is that pass even on? And he landed it at the player's feet, no problem. Areola's distribution for me was fantastic, and it really does help us move the ball more quickly as a football team. So in that instance, I'm happy. We all know what Areola's weakness is, mate. It's commanding his box. He's just a little bit suspect with it. He seems to come for balls that ain't there to come for. And when he does, he sort of tries to throw half a fist at it. And yeah, I'm always nervous that we've got some big, lumpy defenders who are quite good at heading the ball. I never felt like we'd suffer or struggle from set plays. But at the moment, that seems to be a big weakness for us. We do seem to be struggling with balls coming into the box, mate.
I'll tell you one thing I remembered was he threw the ball over the halfway line, mate, Areola. I'm like, Fabianski can't kick it that far. Yeah. he's got a big wingspan, but I did feel for him like there was a bit of a very small argument with Agard during the game. I think a bit of a misunderstanding between Areola and some of the back four, which I thought is understandable because he hasn't really played much, so I'll just give him the benefit of the doubt.
Mate. He did have safe hands. There was one shot that was down to his right that was driven quite hard, and he just sucked it into his chest and held on to it, and I was like, I like that. Yeah, I think shot stopping, I think all of that sort of stuff, really happy with him. Distribution, massive help to if we want to play more progressive football and want to move the ball more quickly. But in terms of aerial ability, that's something that he really needs to improve. But again, mate, does that come with a bit of confidence? Does that come with a bit of game time? Does it come with,
Yeah.
so,
Yeah.
you have to give him the benefit of the doubt a little bit there. There's no question that, that period of scoring the goals at Nottingham Forest and that first half at United, mate, some of the best football that we've played in a while. So, I do think it can't be underestimated how much better, how much faster, and how much that better distribution from the goalkeeper can help that.
I'm going to ask you one question. It's kind of three rolled into one. Is that if you were the manager till the end of the season, A, what would you do with Antonio? How would you use him? B, are you happy to play Danny Ings by himself, similar to last game, but then the two on the wing were trying to help him out a bit more than normal? Third question, would you definitely play Ings two up front, mate? Put Skamaka or someone else next to him?
It's hard, mate, because I think mentally Antonio isn't there. I just don't think he's in the right headspace. I don't think he really has any ambition in football anymore. I don't think he really... I think he looks, like I say, he looks smug, he looks arrogant, he doesn't look bothered. I don't think he was that bothered missing that chance, mate. And you want to see a striker who's not going to let it affect the rest of their game. And you want them to be getting straight onto the next chance and putting the next one away. But that, I don't know, he just doesn't look fussed to me. And that's not the sort of player I want. As a bit of a impact sub for the rest of the season, he ain't going nowhere till the end of the season. Like you say, coming on for the last 20 minutes in a game, saying, go on there and hold it up. Because that's what we've struggled with all season, is if we've got a lead in a game or, if we need to see a game out, we're struggling with just giving that outlet at the end, just someone to pump it up to, hold the ball up, give us a breather, take the pressure off. Antonio used to do that really well, mate. So, he's still got a role to play until the end of the season, but I do think that has to be it. I'm not convinced by this playing on the right as a winger. I know he used to play that role well, but that was when he had legs. He ain't got legs no more.
Yeah,
so can he play that role? I don't know. I would much rather see Bowen out there than I would see Antonio out there. So not convinced by that. I don't get me wrong. I would like to see two up front, but I'm not sure the right person to be playing up there is Antonio, mate.
Do you think Danny Ings will be okay by himself up there?
I mean, he's going to struggle. Ings isn't, the thing is with Antonio, what he used to do was create a chance for himself by using his physicality and strength and aerial ability and all this sort of stuff and his pace. Ings isn't that type of player. So he will struggle up front if we can't get the two wide players closer to him and we're not as progressive up the football pitch. If he had played in the game against United, would he have struggled? I don't think so. I think we was creating enough chances. I think there was enough balls into the striker that I think Danny Ings would have been fine, mate. I really do. So it's all going to depend on how far up the pitch we want to play. How much do we want to, especially if Souček's coming in behind and winning those headers and Ings is feeding off of him and picking up stuff from the middle and also stuff from out wide as well. I think Bowen will link up with Ings really nicely. I think they'll have a good understanding of each other. We've already seen that a little bit, so that will only get better and better. So yeah, no, I think he'll be all right.
Yeah, I mean, because we're playing Paqueta, Rice and Souček, all three of them together, then Souček is he's got that responsibility, I think, to bomb forward a lot more and help him as well. I think that'll help out with that.
And I think Ings will anticipate the flick-ons from Souček better than what Antonio does. I don't think Antonio anticipates the play well at all sometimes. I think sometimes look at him thinking, how have you not seen that ball's going to come into that area? So I think Ings will feed off Souček really nicely. And I also think he'll feed off Bowen really well, mate.
Yeah, I mean, I'd probably like to see two up front, but it is risky because you're losing a player at the back or somewhere else where it's needed. And perhaps we're not sure if we've got the right personnel to try that at the moment. but game by game. But the main thing is, Frankie, it kind of looked okay against Forest, and Forest were very, very poor. I get that. But the idea is we're not perfect. Let's just start with it. And the key is, Frankie, if it ain't working, Moisey, fucking change it, mate, please. Just change it. Don't just sit there. It drives me mad, mate. And you've got your counterparty manager there doing things that must wake your thick head up. And then his number twos are like, I don't know, they don't seem to have anything about them, mate, to say anything. And that's what drives me mad. Okay, it worked against Forest, but knowing Moisey, yeah, he's going to set up the same way. And even if it ain't working, he ain't going to do nothing about it. And then, like you said, the players are putting in a half decent shift. And that does give me a complicated answer, like, has he lost the dressing room? Has he not? But then when the players... Because all the players had to do, Frankie, was lose to Forest, lose to Everton, he'll be gone. But they won. They won those games. So I don't know.
We're getting this sort of, these talks of these private meetings, these meetings that people are having away from David Moyes, mainly with Declan Rice and talking about social media and so on. I'm not sure Moyes is influential to what's going on at the moment. Obviously, he's got to pick the setup, but even Rice had to make a comment of how negative the setup was before that got changed. I think you're seeing a reaction to the players just having enough, mate, to be honest with you, but also realising that maybe the management isn't going to change at the moment. So they're taking it into their own hands. And yeah, I'm hoping that is the case, mate, because, it has been a bit better the last two games. We want to see that continue. And I know it sounds so harsh and I'm sounding like such a wrong-un for not giving Moyes the little bit of credit that he maybe deserves for trying to play a bit more attacking football with 4 at the back rather than 5 at the back and so on. But I can't give him the credit when it only changed after the captain of the football club had to turn around and say, the way we're playing just isn't good enough.
And even if we stay up, right, we should not. And that is my worry, that the fans are going to celebrate us staying up. We're 5th from bottom. They're going to say, it's just crazy. Whereas I'm kind of, well, that's a whole season wasted and got to look higher than that. Conference League, how do you see that going for us, mate? We got Iron Napa, haven't we? And James wants to... And Tony ain't going to come back, James. But perhaps that's what we want. Taking to Iron Napa, he ain't coming back, mate. But how do you feel? I mean, I think, God, we're going to go close in that. I mean, we've got to be up in a top 2, 3.
It should be a breeze to get through this one. This shouldn't be any sort of problem to us whatsoever. There's not very good teams in it. It should be something that you can go close with. But the reason why I cannot get excited by it is because of what we just saw at Man United. You're playing a second-string Man United side. They're there for the taking. And because you're not a winner and you're not a manager who has that winning mentality and knows how to win things, we're out. And the first proper test we get, whether that comes in the next round, the quarter-final, the semi-final, whenever it comes, you'll get beat. And that's the problem. So, I just can't have any excitement for winning it like some people do, because the first live team, the first team with anything about them that we come up against will be out.
I'll tell you what, James, interesting you mention, and we mentioning formations, mate. As I watched the game, I don't think we have one formation, mate, and that could be for other teams. We are constantly moving, and we say, like, oh, yeah, Antonio's up front. He's on the halfway line scratching his balls half the time, mate. So I think we use 3 formations that move as the game's going on. That's one of them. We've got 4-2-3-1 and perhaps one more in there. So I think we shouldn't worry too much in concrete about what formation. Even when you look at the websites, Frankie, the game kicks off still showing different lineups, mate, different formation. Sky's different to 1 or 2 other things I look at. So I think generally that moves around as the game goes on. In the olden days, you could see what lineup it is, and right back's a right back, left back's a left back. So I think it's a bit of that as well, isn't it, mate? People are interchanging and moving around, apart from obviously the goalkeeper and things like that.
It makes sense. If you've got the players who can do it, which I think we do. I think Rice is excellent at playing as a half-back, so someone who can drop into the defensive line when you need him to, but be more forward when you're attacking. Souček can definitely go into a sort of behind the striker sort of role and get in the box, but he can also drop back into central midfield if he needs to. You've got wide players who understand how to play out wide, but also understand how to play inside as well. So there can be transition there. I think you need intelligent players to do it. I think when you've got players like Paquette around you who's played at the top level, and you've got some really big international defensive players that we've got now, there's no reason why we can't be that sort of team, mate. And it causes teams a lot of problems because we've always been too rigid. That's been our biggest problem from the start of this season. You see the way Moyes lines up. Everyone was scared to leave their position. We were so rigid, and teams just played through us. At Man United, there was that interchanging. It made it very difficult for them to pick up our players. We was a nightmare to play against in that first half. And I don't think I've said we've been a nightmare to play against for 4 years, mate. Like, we really was difficult to play against in that first half. And it did come from a bit of that. And where that's come from, I don't really know. I don't know what coaching element of because it doesn't seem to be Moyes' typical way of playing. So where it's come from, I'm not sure. But I like to see more of it, mate.
I think a bit of that, mate, is there's a fairly young team out there, apart from Antonio and Oggy. You had legs in there, didn't you? You had Johnson in there bombing up and down and one of the other youngsters in there. So that's what it's all about. Bring more pace, bring more strength. You've seen the Arsenal model.
James's comment there, though, mate, the one he's just said, Moyes can't be blamed for that first goal. You can, because at the end of the day, like I said to you, we was getting really, really tired. That was one of the biggest issues. Man United were getting on top. Moyes had to make a change before that first goal went in. And as soon as he took Fornals off the pitch, who was helping out, keep Garnacho quiet, that also caused us massive problems. And he ended up getting that goal. The responsibility of when he cuts inside there and just whips it into the far corner, that's where Fornals, his job would have been to make sure he was there to close that down and not let that happen. So you can blame Moyes, because Moyes took far too long to make the change. We didn't have any outlet. Every time the ball went forward, the ball was coming back to us. It made everybody very tired because we were constantly chasing our tails when Man United started getting on top. And then when he got the goal, it's because Moyes was too late with making that change to impact the game. That was so Moyes is to blame.
I get you, because to be in front and hang in there, it takes a lot. And you can see the players are tiring, and it just G's you up a bit to get fresh legs on there. Same as the reason why Man United done it, and they got the benefits of it, mate. But yeah, that is the worry with Moyes. When it doesn't work, he stubbornly just sits and doesn't do anything, mate. And then we lose, and then he says, yeah, but we were good, weren't we? We had a good effort, didn't we? We were close, weren't we? I'm like, bloody hell, mate. Could have won if we'd done something else. Last question for you. Cressy, mate. That is the end, isn't it? Grandad Cressy?
See
Legs
what's
are gone.
happened. See the Cressy treatment, the treatment that Cressy's got. That's what Antonio needs a bit of. Antonio needs the Cressy treatment. That's what he needs.
Oh, mate, I've given it to Cressy. Hardcore, mate. If I see any of the players, they'll probably jump on me, mate. Seriously. Right. I'm going to call it a good... What was it, afternoon? Yeah, good afternoon Friday. You Brighton away. I think it's a 3 o'clock kickoff, mate. You going to go?
I'm not going to Brighton, mate. That Man United trip was enough for me for a while. That 7-hour journey back down the motorway was enough football for me for a little while. So I'm going to give Brighton a miss, mate. I'm going to stay in. I might pop out to watch it somewhere. But yeah, that was that's taken all my enthusiasm out of football for a couple of weeks, mate. That has.
I used to like Brighton. I used to take the kids down there a lot. It's my excuse for fish and chips and stuff.
We always have a good laugh down there. And old Ginger Steve, who used to do some of the videos with us, he lives down there now. So normally I'd have been right up for it, mate. But I had to pick one or the other, and I chose Man United because I knew we were going to win. I still felt on that 15 minutes to go that I was going to record that right, mate. And unfortunately, it all unravelled, didn't it?
Well, if he did place a bet, then Frankie would have cashed out half-time with some profit.
Would have been off.
Yeah, that cash in, cash out thing back in the day when I used to do bet, that is plays with your mind, that doesn't it?
Yeah, it does, mate.
Plays with your mind. But anyway, thanks for joining in, Frankie, and yeah, let's see what happens tomorrow. It's a team that we struggle against, and it's a manager with a reputation that's growing every week, mate, and they have lost Trossard and one or two other players, but like you said, the conveyor belt or Brighton, always up for the next player, mate. So we'll see how it goes. So yeah, have a good weekend, have a good Friday, and hopefully we will do. Yeah, I'm obviously going to do a show after the Brighton game, and I'm going to do something else later on tonight. So yeah, catch up with you tomorrow, mate. Have a good one.
Catch you later on, pal.
Take care. Thanks everyone for joining in. Cheers.